All right. Okay, so today I chose a topic that has been laid upon my heart many, many, many times before. Has anyone ever heard of the word voodoo?
Mm-hmm.
Obia
Mm-hmm.
and spells?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, so I've had so many clients in my line of work, obviously. I have that often. People come in and they're like, Cerise, somebody put a spell on me and my man won't stay with me and all this stuff. Just recently I had a woman, she contacted me and she's like, Cerise, I need a session right now. I'm like, why? Like, I can book you in, but what's going on? Well, my man hasn't been around for 6 weeks. I don't know where he is. Right away I'm like, okay, well, has he done this before? Yes. Oh, so it's often, he does it often. Well, he does it almost every 6 months. I'm like, how long you guys been together for? 10 years?
Oh.
And my first reaction is, you've been putting up with this for a decade. But, okay, I'm not going to be judgmental. You know, people love in different ways. So then I said, okay, well, where has he been in the past? At this woman's house. I said, well, that's where he's at now. She's like, it's not rocket science, right? She's like, well, that's what I know, but I think she put a spell on him. And I said, why would you think that? She said, well, because when he's here, everything's good. He does the dishes, he cooks for me, he picks my kids up from daycare, none of the kids are his. And I'm like, oh, all right. So in that 10 years, how old are your kids? They go to daycare. Some of them must be like, you know, his. Or she's like, well, they've been flirting back and forth and stuff like that. So, you know, two kids, none of them are his. I guess during that 6 months he was gone, she decided to move on a few times. Right, there's been times she has moved on to her benefit, right, to her granted. So now I said to her, so I don't think, you know, anything's wrong. I think he just decided to maybe go back to that other woman. And he's just kind of wavering. He's like the sea, you know, ebb and flow. He doesn't know how to make up his mind. His heart is divided. And in the Bible it says, a divided heart will not stand. A divided house will not stand. Anything that's divided will not stay secure. So this man is divided. I really do believe he does care for her because he's taking care of these 2 kids that aren't his and obviously were conceived during the time of the 10 years that him and her are talking. So he must love her. Because when he goes back, he does all her cleaning, all her cooking, all her, she goes to work, mind you, she supports him when he comes back. So I said, you know, very interesting. She said, she put a spell on him. That's why he keeps going. And I said, no, there is no spell on him. There is no spell on this man. Now there's another story. Another man, he comes to me, he's my client, and he says to me, Cerise, I really like this girl, but she's a little weird. I don't know if I should stay with her. And I said, why? He said, well, I really love her so much. She's beautiful, she's down to earth, she loves to dance when we go out, she's so sociable, she's really good people. But I heard that she went to go see her, and she tried to put a spell on me. And I was like, oh, really? So it got back to him. And he's like, so I'm just pretending that I got a spell on me. And I was like, oh, yeah. He goes, and I'm staying with her because, you know, he says she's good people. But she loved me so much that she actually wanted to keep me to herself so badly that she went and tried to get someone to keep me with her forever. And I said, well, that's a little sick.
I would be scared.
I know. Right, but then we have to do the order of abduction and say, why does this man need to be loved so much? He's obviously missing something from something happened in his life.
And why would she have to go to a seer to make him stay?
Right. He must have been so much of a good man that she's like, I like this one, I'm keeping him. Put a spell on him, make him be under my command. And you know, he is, she tells him move and he moves, but when he comes to see me, we giggle about it. Because I laugh at the fact that he is keeping up this facade for her. Because he loves her so much that, and she really believes. And then when he does get a little bit mouthy, And he starts like coming back at her like, no, I'm not going to wash those dishes. You have kids in this house, and make them wash the dishes. And he says that she will go back and see the seer. Make the spell a little stronger. That's what and this is a woman that I'm not going to say where she works because obviously it's confidential in my sessions. However, she has a job, a very good job in the government. Okay? So this is a woman that actually makes a lot of decisions for a lot of people and families. Okay, so she is.
Or the seer makes the decision, either or, right?
That's a very good point because I have some people that come to me and I help them make very logical decisions. There's a lot of emotional people out there who they were raised. Now this is the best way I can say it. If you're raised with Spanish in your home, you learn how to speak Spanish. These people were raised with the language of spells in their home. So, now I decided to do my own little research because I know if there was such a thing as spells, there would be spells on the news. We would hear news anchors saying, well, Obama has been put under the spell of the Uruguay president today. And so it is very easy to believe certain things when you're raised with it, and we weren't even raised with that. But you heard it so much growing up in Regent Park.
Yeah.
The girl got voodoo on her. Someone voodooed her because all of a sudden she lost her mind. But then I did a little research and I found out that between the ages of 18 to 28, people are highly sensitive, I guess, for the best lack of a better word, to schizophrenia during that age frame. Look at Raquel, she's like, really? How old am I now? You got a few more years, you're still in that bracket, girl. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
No, I'm joking. So anyway, there is this one part in the Bible, and Deuteronomy 33:27, where it really reminds me that God would never ever give the power to any other human being to place a spell on someone else. God would never say, okay, yeah, I give you power, you can put a spell on that other person. And it says, the eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are all the everlasting arms. He will thrust out the enemy from before you and will say, destroy. So that's why anytime when anything negative happens or any kind of, voodoo or obia, or we think any negativity that somebody else is doing to us, we just have to say a prayer. God will destroy any of that negativity. Through faith, all things are possible. And another thing here, Isaiah 44:6, there is no other God. Thus says the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first and I am the last. Besides me there is no God. Which means God's not going to allow anyone to curse. So, I decided to take it to the streets and ask a few people who seem, underprivileged, to ask them if they think they were spelled. So I'm going to take it back about 10 years ago, actually. I was walking on the street, and there was a homeless man, and I thought he was homeless. Bobby K. Right? So I thought he was homeless, and I was on the radio at the time. So every single time I would go by him for many years. Did I tell you guys this story? For many years, I would walk by him and I would sit down. I would arrive a little early just to sit down and talk to him before my radio spot. So I talked to Bobby K, and I asked him how he ended up, begging for money and everything. And he was out 7 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
That makes a lot of money.
So one time, it was my birthday. And I said to him, my birthday's December 20th. So I said to him, next week is my birthday. And it was a Wednesday that year. And I was on air on a Wednesday. And I said, my birthday's next week. And he was like, oh, yeah? And I said, yeah. And he's like, wow, that's nice. And, so we just started to laugh and giggle. The next week was a snowstorm, like most years on my birthday. So I always used to look forward to seeing him. And I was praying at that moment, oh, please, God, I just want to see Bobby. There's a snowstorm, and I just hope he's on the street, So I get to the Michael, and he used to sit outside St. Michael's church. And I was born across the street, St. Michael's Hospital. So for me, everything was all symbolic, and I loved it. And it used to humble me speaking to him, because anything could happen to any of us at any time. So I stopped, and he was there, and I was like, hi. And he's like, there's a snowstorm. You gotta go. He reaches over and he gives me this package, and he says, take this, go. And I was like, what's this? And he's like, happy birthday. And I was like, oh, but how? And he's like, just go, don't open it here, go. So I get to the radio station, and I get inside before I'm, drying all off, and before I go on air, I open up the package. And it's in this beautiful purple box. And when I opened it up, stars came out, like aluminum stars. And stars are my favorite, even till this day. They always have been since I was a little girl. And there was a little purse, and on the purse it said Siemens. Siemens was the phone that I had at the time as well. He didn't know I had a Siemens phone. And it was like, you guys know the knights that have that material so they can't get stabbed? Okay, so that's the material it was, the mesh, the metal mesh. And it was like that, and my phone fit in it perfectly. And I had a very unique phone at that time. Tyree, do you remember that little Siemens phone? It was blue?
I remember the little purse. I remember the
Yeah.
story. I remember the
purse,
story.
though,
Yeah?
I remember showing me
Okay, you remember the
everything.
purse.
Yeah.
So, and I was so amazed by all of this. And then I reached in the box, and there was this necklace right here. And this necklace, pearls and little stones there, right? Little rhinestones. So I was like, oh, that's so nice, and he went to the dollar store and everything. And I put it on my neck, and I was like, I'm going to wear this until the paint starts chipping off. And I did. I wore it. I went in the shower. Hold on a second. So yes, no. So I went in the shower. For 3 days I wore this necklace, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to stop. It's going to start picking soon. And then so in the shower I said to God, I like to meditate in the shower, and I said, God, I love this necklace so much. It was so nice of this man who is homeless and a beggar to take his time to go buy me a present. Like, that is where the thought really counts. It's better than anything else, really, in my opinion. So God told me, take the necklace off, because you do want it forever. So I got out of the shower, and I took the necklace off, and I laid it across the dresser. And as I laid it across the dresser, I said, oh God, I wish this was real. And then my consciousness said, God's voice said to me, it is real. Take it to your jeweler tomorrow. And I was like, oh! And I was like, oh my God, I don't think it's real. Right? And I lay down, and I went to sleep. The next morning I went to my jeweler, and I said to him, can you please check this to see if it's real? So he took the pearls, and for all of you who don't know how to tell real pearls, you put it on your teeth. And if it feels like sand, because that's what it is basically, a mineral, it is real pearls. And if it's like slidey, then it's plastic or glass. So it was gritty, and he's like, well, these are real pearls. And I was like, oh. And then he got his diamond tester, and he tested all the 7 stones, and every single stone was a diamond. And of course, I started to struggle with it, because I'm like, I really want the and then he told me it's a vintage necklace. And he said the age of this necklace is even worth money. Not just the diamonds and the pearls, but also the fact that it's so old. And I was like, oh, I want it, but I got to give it back to him. He's hungry. He's a beggar on the street. So next Wednesday, I went down with the necklace in my hand, and I went up to him, and I'm like, Bobby, listen, I know you gave me this necklace. Someone probably put it in your box when they were going by you, but they were really giving you something. It's real pearls and real diamonds. And he was like, yeah, I know. I gave it to you. It's for you. And his teeth, he has no teeth. He has a French accent, and he speaks very illiterate. You can tell he's illiterate. He said, I give that to you. That you keep that. That's for you. I know it's real. And I said, but you might want to buy yourself something to eat, or you might want to pay rent for even 1 month somewhere with the necklace. He's like, rent. You see that eating center right there? I said, yeah. He said, well, I have a condo right behind it. So he was a beggar on the street, but he wasn't homeless. So, and I used to always ask him too, what do you think about spells? And he said, there's no such thing as spells. People's choices get them to where they are. So then, do you guys remember the little story about that guy who was a beggar on the street? And I asked him, I gave him change, and he took out the pennies and gave them back to me? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the other day I saw him, and I thought, I'm going to ask him what he thinks about spells, because he's a brother. He's black, right? And I'm like, I'm going to ask him what he thinks. So I'm walking, and he comes up to me, he's like, Miss, you got any change? You got any? And I'm like, I'm not giving you any change because you throw pennies away. He looks at me and goes, yeah, and even the government knows they're no good. Look, they're even getting rid of them. And I was like, oh, this man deserves a few coins for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that was straight out comical. And so I asked him, I said, yeah, so what do you think about spells and voodoo and obi? And he's like, that stuff's just for people that don't know better. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, he goes, I heard about it growing up. He said, but if it wasn't for crack, I'd be right like the lawyers and the doctors down the street. So he knows that his decision to do crack at a certain time in his life brought him to beg now. So just yesterday, I was walking through Allen Gardens, and God said to me at that moment, go for your walk. And I know when God says get up and go, I must listen at that moment. That's why I always say listen to that still small voice, no matter what. So I got up and I'm getting ready to go. And this man is sitting on the bench. And he looks at me and he's like, hi, miss. God bless you. Of course, that's the signal. Stop. And that's the reason why God told me to go out. So I go and I'm like, thank you. God bless you as well. And he's like, do you have any change? And I carry my bank card with me everywhere, but I knew I had 15 cents. So anyway, I went up to him and I said, you know what? I don't know. I think I just have a couple of coins. I don't know. And so I looked in my pocket and I had 3 nickels. And I gave him the 3 nickels. And he said, that's all right. You know what I'm going to do with this 15 cents? And I said, what? He said, I'm going to take this beer when I'm done. It was a beer can. Oh. He said, I'm going to take this beer when I'm done. I'm going to take it over there to the beer store. I'm going to return it, get 10 cents for it. Then I'll have 25 cents. I'm going to go buy a single cigarette. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, and then his name was Peter. And then I just became so amazed by him. I said, what's your name? Because of what he was saying. He said, my name's Peter. I was like, Peter, do you know what Peter is in the Bible? Yes, I do. Peter was a saint. And I was like, oh. And he said, but I'm not religious. And I said, oh, you're not? Why? He said, because Jesus wasn't religious either. Jesus believed in the way. And I was talking about that last week, the way, right? And then I said, and what is the way? And then he started to chit-chat. He was so interesting that I asked him if I could video camera him. I pulled out my cell phone and I video cameraed him. I have 3 videos of this man. One is 10 minutes long, the other one's 2 minutes long, and the other one's 1 minute long, and I uploaded them on YouTube already. I have them as private right now because I'm only going to release one at a time. On the one video I said to him, who are you and what are you doing on the bench here? And he said his name's Peter and he's been in Toronto since 1972, and then he actually said he was a vegetarian. And I was like, oh, you're a vegetarian? And I said, why are you a vegetarian? He's homeless. He's been homeless for 13 years. He stays at the Seton House. It's a man's shelter. And he said he's homeless because he has always been a tyrant his whole entire childhood. And then he said that he's vegetarian. And I said, why are you a vegetarian? He said, for mental, physical, and spiritual reasons. Now this is a man on a bench drinking a beer telling me he's a vegetarian for mental, physical, and spiritual reasons. And right away, my intention is to ask him if he believes in spells, because I want to know if he thinks someone hexed him to make him, be on that bench. And because of course, why wouldn't he think he was spelled, right? Why wouldn't he think someone did voodoo on him? That's where he is on the bench. Everyone else is doing very well. If anyone believes in spells, it would be somebody who is at rock bottom. So he says he's a vegetarian. So I, for some reason, just asked him, why for mental reasons. I didn't think he was going to be able to answer it because the man is half in the bag. Seriously, if you watch the video, you will see the man is actually slurring. And he says, well, I wanted my mind to evolve. I was like, yo, So I went on to the next one, and I said, and why for spiritual reasons? And he said, because it feels good. It's uplifting. And I said, enlightening, right? And he says, yes. And I said, and why for physical reasons? And he said, because it's healthy. This man amazed me to the point. And so I said, what do you think of God? He said, I love God. He said, brother Jesus is my brother. He sits right here next to me. He's in my heart, but he's right next to me too. And I was like, really? Wow. And so then he started to go on about a different story and everything of that nature. And I said, do you believe in curses? And he said, oh, that stuff is bad. And I at first misunderstood because I thought he was saying, yes, that stuff is horrible. And I said, well, do you believe somebody cursed you and, this is why you're sitting on the bench? He said, no. He said, nothing can touch me. He said, something can embrace me because I'm all love. And when you love God, nothing else can touch you. He said, nothing can touch you, but you can be embraced with love. He said, that's what God is, love. There is nothing else out there that's stronger than God. And this is a man and then he went on to talk about how he lost his wife to be, and there's a whole 10-minute video. And every single thing he said was based upon his choices in life, and that's where he is now. He said the only thing that ever saved him was love. And the reason why he's on that bench is because he was always a tyrant. When he was younger, he misbehaved, he was a rebel, and his family loved him, and that's the only thing that ever saved him. So now he uses that love to carry on through his life. But nothing, there is no spell, no voodoo, no obia, nothing of that nature that can ever touch anybody at all. And so I had a woman call me the other day, and she said to me that she thinks her family is cursed. And she said that the reason why she feels this is because everybody in her family, they're always broke. They get jobs, and then they get fired. Relationships never work. There's always something negative happening in their family that is unexplainable. And she believes somebody somewhere put a very strong curse on them. So she went to a reader. And the reader said to her, yes, I can remove this curse. I can remove it. It's going to cost a lot of money, but it can be removed. So the woman said, how much? $2,000. And all her negativity in her life will disappear. She will now get a good job and keep it, and so will her family.
Because she's broke, she has to.
All her relationships will be fruitful and loving. The men that she's with will be so caring over her. And then, as well, any diseases or illnesses or anything she experiences in life will be all gone. I was like, and what's going on now? She was, well, the reader told her that, so she got the spell and everything, and so everything was okay for a moment, but then everything started to go bad again, and so she went back to the reader, and the reader said, oh my gosh, the spell was stronger than I thought. You're going to have to pay more money now to get a stronger spell removed, to get the spell removed, and so that's when she called me.
Thank God.
And she was like, oh. And she said, Cerise, I don't know what to do. And she didn't call me to remove a spell. She called me to ask if she should put her house up for a second mortgage.
Oh my Lord.
That's what she was calling me for, a second mortgage, because she was paying mortgage on this home she doesn't own. She wants to go get a second mortgage so she can give this woman $10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000. First it was $2,000. Now, yeah. Face like that woman.
Wrong.
No, but she said, well, wait, this is really strong. I think I can remove it from you and from your children's children as well. Children's children that aren't even born yet. So I said, exactly. So I said to her, I said, well, I don't think you need to put your home up for another mortgage because that's not going to help. No, nothing at all. Now there is something called generational curse that is in the Bible. Okay. And a generational curse is, again, based upon choices. What the generational curse is, let's say somebody is raised in a family with an alcoholic father that beats the mother, and then, you know, the son witnesses it constantly, That son now grows up, starts drinking, and beats his wife. And then so on and so forth and so forth. So one action actually created a domino effect. And it seems like it's a curse on the family, but what it is a habitual behavior. And then it starts to continue and continue. And then not only will, let's say the girls are in that family, and they get older and they don't take a drink of alcohol, but they get with men that drink alcohol and beat them. That type of influence is called environmental upbringing. Environmental upbringing always has an impact on people, no matter what. And a lot of people think that the family is cursed. The family is not cursed. The family, just for generations, have not been using common sense. Somebody has not broken the curse. I tell Tyree all the time, and ever since he was a little boy, I always say to him, finish school. Because a lot of the boys in my family, they don't have their high school diploma. And I would always say, I say to Tyree, be the first to break that. Don't repeat that cycle. Stay in school. Break any cycle of anything. Be nice to people. Be kind to people. Just because you have friends that are, maybe, young boys doing things and stuff, don't be like that. Be completely different. Be the first one in the family to set a new example. And I can honestly say, I'm very proud of him. As you can see, we have a good relationship, and he's here today, and he's such a polite guy, and he's all straight A's in school. He's graduating in June, and he already knows what he wants to take in college, and he has broken almost every single generational curse that guys usually go through in my family. And I know some of my family members are going to be watching this video, and it's not that I'm putting my family down. What I'm saying is there are certain behavior traits in every family that needs to be broken, and as moms, as parents, we need to take it upon ourselves to say, hey, this is what goes on in our family, it's not good, break the cycle. That's what generational curses are, cycles of behavior. So just in general, when it comes to people saying that they have the power to do something for you or to do something to you, that's not true. The other day, Tyree and I were having a conversation, and I said, you know what, T? It just occurred to me, nobody can be born for you. Nobody can go pee for you. Nobody can go to the washroom for you. Nobody can die for you. Nobody can laugh for you. The essential things that we experience in life, nobody can do for you. Only you can do it yourself. Same thing. Nobody can put a spell on you to make you love someone. Nobody can put a spell on you to make you break up from someone at all. Those things are not within the power of any human being. It's only within the power of God.